last thing I want to talk about here, a trade scenario that has come up in my late night Google searches. Shout out to Big Deke News, great YouTube show. If you haven't checked him out, he's also the co-host of the Arthur Millette Experience, I believe, the podcast over for Arthur Millette, or not Arthur Millette, Arthur Motes, excuse me. Came up with a pretty good trade situation for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not sure if it could happen, but one that we should most definitely start talking about. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we all know, struggling in the secondary. Cornerbacks, despite 3 interceptions against the Raiders, not the greatest. Have had their moments, but have also had their rough moments. Well, what if you could change that? Because there's a person, AFC West. Is that where the Broncos are? AFC West.
That's right.
In Denver. He's in his 3rd year of his rookie contract. Former, I want to say he's like the 10th overall pick or something. Something crazy. I actually have it right here. The 9th overall pick for the Denver Broncos. Patrick Surtain, or Surtain. There it is. Patrick Surtain II. A guy that I think anybody in the NFL would want, including the Denver Broncos. And you got to think, why would they put him on the trade block? Well, a quick Google search will tell you that he probably is on the trade block and that the Denver Broncos, for how bad they are probably just looking to clean house. Sean Payton did not draft this guy. He's got no emotional connection to him whatsoever. If he's looking to get rid of anybody and get some loaded draft picks, that's going to be the name that he does. The Pittsburgh Steelers clearly could use some help. Not saying that they go and get some help, but could use some help. Is that a name that you would even consider if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers about making a phone call and getting on the phone with whoever their GM is over there if you're Omar Khan?
I mean, I don't know. This guy just gave up 70 points last week. I'm not really sure.
It's true. It's true.
Is he any good? I mean, it's fair to ask. No, but if you can get Patrick Surtain, obviously you got to swing for the fences. I mean, I think this is the kind of move that, if you are a contender of any kind and you have any kind of, what's the word? If you are anything less than completely certain that you have 2 starting caliber lockdown corners, Patrick Surtain is a guy that you have to go for, that you have to swing for the fences for. It would cost a haul. Like, I'm sure, like, the Broncos haven't lost their season yet. Like, you'd have to pay a pretty penny to get him. But it's hard to say whether or not it's worth it for the Steelers, because I think we've talked about it. I think they can survive with the corners that they've got. And I think especially if, Joey Porter Jr. comes along and you get a little bit more from him. But this guy is a clear upgrade over anyone they have on the roster. Like, he would automatically be the second best DB, like, period, behind Minkah Fitzpatrick. Maybe even there's a chance that he's even better than Minkah. I don't know.
Yeah, all right.
He's good, man. He's good.
He's good.
Really,
Minkah's
really
good. Though. Minkah's good.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, when you also can factor in, like, he's young, there's a chance that you can keep him around for a while. I think that's something you got to think about too. But yeah, it probably doesn't make sense right now, quite honestly. Like, I think this is something that you'd need the Broncos to lose a little bit more.
Okay.
And that would drive down the price a little bit. And this says the further you go in the season. And then you can also get a chance to actually look at your corners and say, all right, is this sustainable? Or, like, we're not going to play Jimmy Garoppolo every week. So we've got to figure out if we can survive with these corners, if we can get where we want to go with these corners, or if we need an upgrade. And if, like, Joey Porter is ready to do the things that you want him to do, because they're clearly working him in more and more and more, trusting him with a little bit more each week. So I think that's the other thing, is you got to monitor your 2 starters, obviously, but I think more importantly where Joey Porter Jr. goes, and then how the rest of the Broncos season plays out.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you could get through these next 2 weeks, you go into the bye week, week 6, the Broncos are still winless. That's a good situation to just see what happens. You know what I mean? See what's going on. There are some trade scenarios. This is from Predominantly Orange. They have 2 of them set up here. One, a 2024 first-round pick, 2025 second-round pick, and Derek Stingley from the Houston Texans in exchange for Surtain. Then with the Chicago Bears, a 2024 first and a 2024 second with Jalen Johnson. both of those, I think, out of the Steelers' price range. But I also think that a lot of times these trade scenarios are a little jacked up. A little bit like, if we're going to make this happen, you got to throw the kitchen sink at him. And it's like, no, that's not always necessarily true. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think that you could obviously use him. I think that with how young he is and your cap situation moving forward, where you don't really have to worry about a lot of these guys after next season, maybe you sign a new long-term deal, and then you got Surtain and Joey Porter Jr. as your corners moving forward with Minkah Fitzpatrick back there. I feel real good about that one. I got no complaints there. On top of that, you just drafted Keanu Benton, so whenever Cam Hayward's ready to go and he gets too expensive and too old, you have a replacement there. You have no other expensive defensive linemen going on. Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt are paid. Kenny Pickett ain't worth a long contract right now, and that isn't going to change for the foreseeable future. You got almost nobody that you have to pay big bucks to coming up, except for maybe George Pickens in 2 years. I'm probably making the move and feeling really, really good about it. It's just a matter of, like, do you have the pieces? Like, you're not giving up like Levi Wallace or Patrick Peterson and saying, oh, this is equivalent to Derek Stingley, right?
Yeah.
That's they're the same person. No, and you're not going to give up 2 first-round picks. I'd say maybe a first this year, a second next year, maybe a first this year, a second and a third next year. I don't know, but it's got to be reasonable compensation. But to make the move, I mean, I'd upgrade immediately. Like, what do you think about how good that defense? You